I am now going to install this fused connection unit into the lighting circuit. That way we can reduce the amperage down to 3 amps. We can then take a supply off this for the alarm panel. I'm using a metal clad box and faceplate because this is being installed in a garage. If I was doing this inside, I would probably use a press and I would fix that to the wall. When you do the wiring, you've got to ensure that you run the wires in the permitted zones. I'll put a link to the permitted zones in the description. If you're not entirely sure what you are doing, it's best to get an electrician to do this for you. There are some places where you cannot do this yourself, such as a special location, such as a kitchen or a bathroom. This is the back box, and as you can see, I've knocked out one of the metal knockouts and I've placed a grommet in the hole. That will protect the cable that's going in there. Because this is a lighting circuit, the fuse is 5 amp, so I'm using 1mm cable. Just put that in there for the time being. If you look on the back there, you'll see that there's an earthing terminal, and then on the actual FCU itself we have 2 earthing terminals. We have a live in, neutral out and live out, and then at the bottom there we have a cord grip. So we're going to use that cord grip, which looks like that on that side, so we're going to remove that now. So I've now removed the blank that was in there. That will enable the cable to go through there. We're going to start off by stripping the neutral. Then the live. So you can see there that I've removed approximately 15mm of the insulation. I'm now going to bend some of the conductor back on itself using some pliers. And then I'm going to place the live into the live terminal. And then I'm going to place the neutral into the neutral terminal. We're now going to undo the earthing terminal in the back box. And then I'm going to get a piece of earthing wire, which has got a copper conductor in it. And then I'm going to undo the earthing terminal. I've now put a piece of earthing wire to the earthing lug on the back box, and that also connects to the FCU. We now just need to tighten that up. I'm then going to cut a piece of earth sleeving that will slide onto the earth wire to identify it as being the earth. I've now stripped off some of the outer insulation from the flex, and we can feed that through the hole in the FCU. That will give us plenty of length on those wires, so we can now tighten the cord grip. We can now just check the length on these wires. And there is plenty of room in the back box, so they should be fine. We're now going to strip off the insulation. So we've stripped a fair amount off. Do the same on the neutral. You can then twist all the strands together, and we can fold that back on itself, and then we can put that into the live terminal, and we can tighten that up. We can now do the same with the neutral, so we're going to twist all the strands together, and then we're going to fold it back on itself, and then we're going to insert that into the neutral terminal. And then we can tighten that up. Now we just need to strip off some insulation from the earth wire. We're now just going to bend back the conductor on the earth wire, and we'll bend that back on itself, and then we can terminate these earth wires into the remaining earthing terminal. The earth wire that I've used there is a little bit thick, but it's the only earthing wire that I actually had. So we now need to check that all those wires are secure, which they are. We can now put the face plate onto the back box. Can now replace the screws. So that's the FCU fixed and wired. We're now going to fix the flex part to the alarm. I've now run the flex from the fused connection unit to the alarm panel. So we've now got live, neutral and earth at the panel. These need connecting into this terminal block here. You'll notice that I've stripped the ends off already. So we're going to do the same as what we've done with all the other wires. We're going to twist all the strands together and then fold the conductor back on itself. That will give the terminal something good to grip. We're going to start off by putting the neutral wire into the terminal. Then we're going to tighten the terminal screw. The earth then goes in the next terminal. And then finally the live goes into the bottom terminal. So we've now got the neutral, earth and live connected at the alarm panel. We are now ready to make the connection at the ceiling rose. We've now located the ceiling rose and we're going to take a supply from this to go to the FCU. Before we do that, we need to go and isolate the electric. So this is the consumer unit and you can see that the downstairs lights are clearly identified, but you should never take it for granted that that switch isolates all the downstairs lighting circuit. You always need to check. So we're just going to isolate that switch. We can then lock off the MCB using a lock off. So I can now put the padlock through there and there is no chance of anybody switching that circuit back on whilst we are working on it. As an extra precaution, we're just going to put a label on there that says do not switch on. It's a good idea doing this if you live in an house where somebody may come in and switch the electricity almost you're working on it. Now we've locked off the electricity, we can remove the cover. And before touching any of the terminals, we can use the GS38 approved voltage tester to ensure that it is dead. Before you use this, you need to check that it's working by pressing the auto test function. If you don't have an auto test function, you will need a proving unit. We're now going to probe between neutral and live, which is dead, neutral and earth and live. And we'll also just check the switch live terminal. We can probe all of those terminals and the tester isn't lighting up at all, so it is completely dead. We are now safe to work on this circuit. Before we do, we need to check that the tester is still working, which it is. So we can now safely work on this circuit. I'll just briefly explain to you about the ceiling rose. This cable here is the circuit cable, so is that one. This is the cable that's actually going down to the light, and this is the cable that's going to the light switch. So if we're looking there, we can see that we've got 3 brown wires going into that terminal, so that is the permanent live, and we've got 3 wires going into the neutral terminal, so that is the permanent neutral. So we need to take up a supply of each one of those. We need a neutral in there, a live in there and an earth in there. This is the cable that connects to the FCU that we've just installed, so that needs to go in there. We need to get the earth wire into the earthing terminal, the live wire into the live terminal and the neutral into the neutral terminal. So we just need to trim a couple of those off a bit. So we're now just going to open up the neutral. And slide the neutral wire in there, making sure we don't push any others out. Then we'll undo the live terminal, push the live wire in there. And we'll just cut a piece of earth sleeve in. We'll put the earth in the earth terminal. Once you've done that, you can then replace the lid on the junction box. When you put your cable in there, just ensure that it's not going to be trapped when you tighten the lid. Sometimes you have to break a little bit of the plastic out so that the cable is not trapped. Once you've done that, you can then go and restore the power.